Again, I mean, it's just a personal thing, but you can see they look really austere. I can imagine Krishna Baladev Prabhu being one of them. The seventh Goswami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not, he was a chubby also, you could say, from the external perspective. But the real thing of a Goswami, even ladies can be Goswamis. Not by, you say, social designation, but by real consciousness, you can be Goswami. In fact, Srila Prabhupada writes in the preface of the Nectar of Instruction that the teachings of Rupa Goswami, in that case, Nectar of Instruction, are applicable for all. Because the goal of human life is to become a pure devotee, and to become a pure devotee, you've got to be a Goswami. You have to be a Goswami before you can become a pure devotee. The Goswami means one who controls the senses, so man or woman is the same principle. Without control of the senses, we can't be a pure devotee of the Lord. Control of the senses means realizing that our senses, our mind, everything that we identify with, is the property of the Lord, and it's meant to be used under His will, not ours. So these are the teachings of the Acharyas, how to do that. So we'll sing the Sad Goswami Astakam. I might need a button. You know, a button presser? You know what I mean by a button presser? Someone to press the buttons on the computer. Oh, so you have to stop playing the cartels every minute and press the button. Well, you come over this side, and if you bring a cushion, it's going to be 5 or 10 minutes at least. And, well, I'm not going to read the translation, it's too long. But we'll sing the Sanskrit compilation of Sad Goswami Astakam of Srinivas Acharya. So to go to the next panel, you press this one also, or this one, whichever you prefer. To go back, you press that one there, you see. And then to go forward, you press that. That's enough. Just one press. So there's two. Can you read it? Is it readable? Yes. Okay. Because your screen's good, but it's not as big as the big one, so to speak. So there are two verses, so there's not so many. It's not so many panels. Srila Prabhupada very much liked this, and especially recommended that those who are trying to live a life of renunciation should sing this bhajan regularly. Actually, we're all trying. I mean, don't think this is a song for the brahmacharis and sannyasis only. It's for every one of us. The principle may differ. Rules for grihastas and other ashrams may be slightly different, but the principle is still the same. Krishna Kirtanam Yananatana Paro Premam Ritam Munide Krishna Kirtanam Yananatana Paro Premam Ritam Dira dira archana priyo priya koro Himasaro pujito Dira dira archana priyo priya koro Shri Chaitanya Kripa Bhavo Bhagava Antaraka Shri Chaitanya Kripa Upasanatano Vraja Sri Jiva Upako Vicharanayaka Nipano Sadhana Dharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarana Bhuvane Mano Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Radha Padana Nandena Nataliko Vande Upasanatano Vraja Sri Jiva Upako Vande Upasanatano Sri Jiva Shri Gauranga Gunana Vana Vido Shraddha Samvedamito Shri Gauranga Gunana Vido Shraddha Samvedamito Papo Tapa Nikuntano Danubitam Govinda Gana Nitai Anandam Durvanayakano Kaivalya Nistako Vande Upasanatano Vraja Sri Jiva Upako Vande Upasanatano Vraja Sri Jiva Upako Paturam Shesha Mandalapati Shrehing Sada Kuchava Shesha Mandalapati Shrehing Sada Kuchava Uddhva Kinakanesako Karunaya Kaupina Kantashito Baba Samitavi Lahari Tahoga Magno Moho Baba Samitavi Lahari Tahoga Vande Rupa Sanatana Bhujava Shri Jiva Opalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Bhujava Shri Jiva Opalako Puja Kokila Amsa Sarasavana Kine Mayura Kure Nana Ratna Nipada Mura Vitaka Shri Yukta Vrindavane Nana Nipada Mura Vitaka Shri Yukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Nisham Pravajato Jiva Taro Yomuda Radha Krishna Nisham Pravajato Jiva Taro Yomuda Vande Upasana Sano Abhujavo Shri Jiva Opalako Vande Upasana Sano Abhujavo Shri Jiva Opalako Sankhya Purvaka Nama Ganatiti Kala Vasani Krito Viharakari Vishito Chadyanta Dino Chayo Viharakari Vishito Chadyanta Dino Chayo Radha Krishna Gunasmite Madhurima Nandena Samohito Radha Krishna Gunasmite Madhurima Nandena Samohito Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghushago Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa tate kavindatanaya Kire chohom shivate Adagunda tate kavindatanaya Kire chohom shivate Mara Shara Sheshadasaya Prasto Pramato Sada Devo Madhavasada Sheshadasaya Prasto Pramato Sada Dayanto Takadahare Kuravaran Bhavani Bhuto Muda Dayantam Takadahare Kuravaran Bhavani Bhuto Muda Vande Upassanatano Raghushako Shri Jiva Upalako Vande Upassanatano Raghushako Shri Jiva Upalako Hey Radeva Devike Salavike He Nanda Sunno Kutaha He Radeva Devike Salavike He Nanda Sunno Kutaha He Govardhana Kapapara Patale Kavindivane Kutaha Divadana Kapapara Patale Kavindivane Kutaha Santaditi Sarvatova Japure Kedar Mahavivalo Vande Upasana Panoraviyavo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Upasana Panoraviyavo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Upasana Panoraviyavo Vande Upassanatano Raghushako Shri Jiva Upalako Damodara Damodara Radhe Damodara Shri Radhe Goswami Prandana Hai. Jaya Jiva Goswami Prandana Hai. Jiva Goswami Prandana Hai. Jaya Jiva Goswami Jaya Jiva Goswami Jaya Jiva Goswami Jaya Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Jiva Goswami Tirubha Mahamahotsav ki jai. Shri Girish Pandit Tirubha Mahotsav ki jai. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glorious to Shri Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivasesha Sanyavadi Pastichari Shatani. Welcome some of you who have come yesterday or whenever from wherever, Manila or wherever it may be. I think Harinamananda, you're coming from Manila? I don't know, you're coming from Manila? Yeah. And who else is coming from Manila? Where are you young ladies coming from? Are you coming from South India? Where are you living in Manila? Pardon? Las Vegas. No, Las Vegas. Very nice, not far away. Wonderful, welcome. Are you students? At the university. Very nice. That's where they met the devotees, huh? In the university. So thank you all for coming, wherever you're from. Some of you all the way from China. You're from China? Pardon? And we're coming from France. Yes. So today we're going to speak a few words about Sri Jiva Goswami Prabhupada. To hear about these eternal associates of the Lord is very purifying, as well as very instructive. We're not here just to take instructions. There has to be a real, you could say, effect of those instructions, otherwise one questions the purpose of following instructions with no effective result. Materially speaking, in a real sense of the term, that's what's going on in the material world. We're following instructions from our mind, society, real value. In spiritual life, we would like to see some effective results there. Not just the external ones, but internal. We often judge things externally. Accomplishments, how I feel may be both internal and external. But even that is, yes, correct in one sense, depending on what we mean by that statement. But it's not just about, I'm feeling good. Common term, feeling good. It's about how much we are becoming conscious of Krishna, freed from our attachments to this material world. So let's get into because by associating, this is the process of evoking Krishna consciousness, or rather Krishna consciousness being evoked is by association. We become conditioned in this world by association with the modes of nature. Living entities are born into this universe, basically speaking, with aversion to Krishna, but no actual attachment to particular forms of material sense gratification. Traditionally they're understood born in the mode of goodness, but then due to the association with the modes of nature, one interacts in various ways and falls down into various species of life, which represent the various desires of the living entity, perverted desires. Thank you for that. I got used to it. I thought it was part of the natural environment, you know. I didn't realize. What was it actually? It's an AC. It's a very, let's say, vocal AC. Maybe a little bit of work needs to be done to quieten it down a little bit. Okay, well anyway, it's been quietened down now, been cancelled. So, association with, as every learned man knows, prasangamajaram pashram, every learned person knows that association with the material sense objects is the greatest entanglement for the soul in this world. But that same attachment, when transferred to the pure devotees of the Lord, is the cause of our freedom from this world. Attachment is not itself a bad word. We tend to use words in certain ways, but if they're used in relation with Krishna, they can be very good. Whatever, even politics can be used in Krishna's service. And attachment also is becoming attached, transferring our attachment from the material sense objects to the object of the real Vishaya, Krishna, satisfying Krishna's desires. And this is, let's say, evoked in the association of devotees, those who are connected, pure devotees of the Lord. So we hear, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes how by hearing about these great devotees of the Lord, one develops in practice, not just in terms of our attachments, but in practical terms, one develops confidence or courage, very important in the practice of devotional service, courage or confidence, and determination, enthusiasm, also very, very important principle of devotional service, and a great satisfaction, because the living entity is Nandamoya Sat. We're always looking for pleasure. Who is not looking for pleasure? I think every conscious living entity, maybe the type of pleasure, what actually brings pleasure may vary, but the principle of pleasure seeking is a common denominator, which you could say unifies. It doesn't unify because we have different ideas, but in principle it's a unified say tendency of all living entities. Although we don't, because we're trying to satisfy our own trying to get our own pleasure, seeing the material world as the object of my pleasure, therefore there are so many conflicts. But the Goswamis, they are teaching us how to become free of these conflictory situations by connecting or focusing our attention on Krishna in the center. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Is that Giri? Hari Bol, Giri. Giri Hari. Hari Bol. He's a big man now. He's going to become as big as a mountain. He's not very enthusiastic about the class. His attachments are elsewhere, at that age especially. Hari Bol, Adalila. So we'll move on and see how we can associate a little bit with Jiva Goswami. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Where are you going? Vish, where is he going? Is he going to fish? Where are you going? Where are you going? Huh? Coming back, you're coming back here. Come in here. Where are you going? Going to the loo. Going to the loo. Are you coming back? Yes. You sure? You have 40, 50 witnesses here. We'll see you soon, okay? Don't get lost down there in the loo. There's a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita which there's very little said about Jiva Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, there's not much said to him about at all in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Practically nothing. Chaitanya Mangala. None of the biographies of Lord Chaitanya. Why? Because he appeared a little bit later. There's a difference of opinion as to when his appearance and disappearance in this world are, because they didn't have registry offices in those days. You know, we had to register your birth and deaths and everything. It wasn't such a big thing like it is now. So there's only rough estimate given. But if one uses logic, common sense, and facts from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, you can more or less conclude that he would have appeared sometime between 1511 and 1513. Although some say later. It doesn't make sense, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he took sannyas, for the first 6 years of his sannyas, he was traveling most of the time. And he also visited the birthplace of Jiva Goswami, which was in Ramkeli. Jiva Goswami was the son of Anupam, the brother of Rupa and Sanatan. So he was a nephew of Rupa and Sanatan. So it's described when Lord Chaitanya went there that Jiva Goswami was already present. A very small child. My goodness, Hare Krishna. Novalicious. Are you still in Novalicious? Are you still in Novalicious? Bulacan, not Novalicious. Bulacan. Bulacan. It seems like that. Anywhere in Malaya it's like being in a can. Bula. What's Bula in Tagalog? Bula. Bula means in Fiji, Bula. It's some greetings or something. Anyway, he was their nephew, and Lord Chaitanya visited Ramkeli on his way to Vrindavan. So that was he was within the first 6 years. So Lord Chaitanya took sannyas in his 24th year. So you could say he appeared, we know he appeared in 1486. So if you take it maximum 30, you're coming to 1486. Add on 30, what have you got? 15, 16, right? So it makes logical sense, doesn't it? And let's take it to the maximum. Actually, it was before that he visited Ramkeli, because he went to Vrindavan, and I think it was when he didn't make it actually to Vrindavan, and he went back to Puri, then he went again to Vrindavan. So it's probably more likely to be 1514 when he visited Ramkeli, which would make sense if Jiva Goswami is already present. To say that he appeared later than that doesn't make any sense at all. It's totally illogical. On top of that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then ordered Rupa and Goswami and Sanatana Goswami to retire from family life and go to Vrindavan. So Rupa and Anupam did. And during that, before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's second visit to Vrindavan, or during that period of time rather, Anupam passed away. So obviously he must have had his child before he passed away. He could have been born after, but not long after. It couldn't have been more than, 8-9 months after at maximum. Less than that, because he was already traveling for 4 or 5 months at least before he passed away. So we can conclude that it must have been really somewhere in that period. You can't really take it out of that period. whichever it was, it said that some biographers say he stayed 95 years, but most say 85. So that would bring us to about 1590, 1595, like that, 90, something like that, whatever it was. That he departed from this unmanifest, let's say. Pure devotees, they don't die like an ordinary living entity. They just simply move on. They simply move on to another place, or they unwind their pastimes and just simply engage in their eternal pastime only and not manifest externally. They have their their swarup, their original forms, and they have their sadhaka rupa, their forms within this world, whereby they seem to interact with the material world around us like everyone else, but they are teaching everyone else how to attain their swarup, or their eternal nature, their eternal form. So this verse describes how among these branches Rupa and Sanatana were principal. Kaviraj Goswami is describing the various branches of the Chaitanya tree. He's described the trunks, Nityananda, Advaitacharya, and then the various branches which come from the trunk. Just like ISKCON, Prabhupada says, is a branch of the Chaitanya tree, and Prabhupada is the chief founder Acharya of the ISKCON branch. From the Gaudiya line, Gaudiya Math also is the main branch coming off of the Gaudiya Math ISKCON branch. Here they come, Haribol, all the way from, coming all the way from, I guess, from Manila. Are you coming from Manila? Yes, Manila. Laguna also. Also from UP. Is that Gaura Shakti? I can't see in the bright light. Hare Krishna, welcome everybody to the beautiful temple of Shri Nitai Sundar Gaur Nataraj down at Nitai Gaur Hari, New Eco Village. Come on in everyone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So many students from the university, is that right? Students? Wonderful. So nice to see you. So this is the chief branch. So Rupa and Sanatana are the chief branches of this tree. The tree. Why? The tree is spreading its fruits and flowers in all directions, and therefore they are described as the chief spreaders, you could say, of love of God, or the process which awakens love of God. That was their specific responsibility designated to them by Lord Chaitanya, was to compile literatures in line with Lord Chaitanya's teachings for the welfare of the whole world. Literatures which could be people could profit from, apply in their lives. So the Goswami's literatures are the foundation of this movement. Rupa Goswami is said to be the Acharya of our line. He's the main Acharya. Therefore we're called Rupanugas. But to fulfill the orders of Rupa Goswami, or the mission of Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami was most prominent. So Jiva Goswami, Anupam, Jiva Goswami, and others headed by Rajendra were their sub-branches. Rajendra is another name, as far as I know, of Raghunath. So we move on, and the purport Prabhupada writes, in the Gorgana Dipika, this is a book written by Kavi Karnapura, the brother of Shivananda Singh, who compiled this book on the various associates of Lord Chaitanya and their eternal positions. Now, these are not ordinary situations. It's not like, sometimes they will say, can you tell me my swarup? Even now, someone asked me that the other day. I said, your swarup is das. Right now you're an ass, but your real swarup is das. I said, right now your designation is ass. But you have to learn how to become das, and then Krishna will reveal the rest, don't worry. But as long as you're an ass, you'll never understand your real constitutional position. Simple as that. We're still attached to this material world just like an ass is attached. There's no question, as long as there's any flickering desire for sex life or material sense gratification, of having any real understanding, even if someone says it, it's just a disservice to say it. And then on top of that, it's questionable anyway. But these personalities, like Jiva Goswami, when they reveal, or it's revealed what their swoop is, that is actually their eternal nature. They are never conditioned souls. We shouldn't think that, oh, they're also in the material world. Just like me. You see? They're also practicing. He's also chanting. He's also worshipping the deity. He's following the regulated principles. He took initiation. Same as me. Same thing. Maybe. But it's not. They're only doing it for, well, there's another side to it, which is a transcendental aspect of those services. But besides that, they're teaching us how to do these various necessary practices. And they come into this material world out of love and compassion. They don't come in this material world because they're, like Prabhupada, when Prabhupada left Bombay, Mr. Choksi, the secretary of Srimati Maharaj, he said, "Oh Swamiji, I know why you're going to America. You want to go there for sense gratification," he said. Because, you nonsense, don't talk such rubbish. They don't come for that reason. We come because we want to enjoy. Right? Just like I've come to the Philippines. I want to enjoy here. There's so much nice weather, beautiful country, nice fruits. I can relax. I come to enjoy, isn't it? And Mananda's last, smiling like anything. He's so happy to be in Philippines. Can't compare it to France. We don't see him smile very often in France. No, that's not why they come to this world. They have one purpose. Their one purpose is simply to please Krishna. And it manifests in the form of their preaching, in the form of their service in this world. So in the Gorganadesh Deepika it is said that Jiva Goswami was formerly Vilas Manjari. The Manjaris, as you may know or may not know, but they are the most confidential, intimate servants and associates of Radha and Krishna. Most confidential. All the Goswamis, and in fact most of the gurus, the sannyasis, the spiritual masters in our line, the Gaudiya line, most of them are Manjaris. There are exceptions, but generally they're in what's called Manjari Bhav, and we're not going to get into Manjari Bhav. Hare Krishna. You have broken your neck or what happened? Pardon? Huh? Slip disc. Oh my goodness, that's not nice. I hope it improves. It's not a comfortable one, slip disc. Anyway, we'll be gunning for you. I hope you get better. From his very childhood, I'm reading this because it's easier for you to follow. If you look on the board, you'll see most of this on the screen. And usually in this day and age, with talking is one thing, but seeing is usually, the two should go together. Visual. This is the visual age, I think. I don't know if it's still in vogue or not, but people can't hear very well. They can, when they see it, it helps to solidify a little bit in our consciousness. Huh? So he was Vilas Manjari. From his very childhood, Jiva Goswami was greatly fond of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because he really didn't have much time with his father. His father, Anupam, he passed away when he was just a little tiny boy, just 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, like that. He later came to Navadvip. This is just a really short summary given by Prabhupada here. He later came to Navadvip to study Sanskrit, and following in the footsteps of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he circumambulated the entire Navadvip Dham. Now, I'm not quite sure. I haven't got many slides here. It's a very short presentation. But this was the first Navadvip Parikrama, Navadvip Dham Parikrama, by Lord Nityananda. He took Jiva Goswami on. Just like today, if you go to the Gopurnim festival, a week or so before Gopurnim, they have the Navadvip Dham Parikrama. Don't say parikram. Many times devotees say parikram. That means very heavy work. Krama means work. It's not, it's parikrama. It means walking around. not working around, but walking around, not working. So parikrama. So the first one started by Navadvip, and that time actually Nityananda Prabhu revealed to Jiva Goswami. It's there. There's very little said about Jiva, mostly in the Bhakti Ratnakar, a book of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, describing about this parikrama of Jiva Goswami with Nityananda Prabhu. And it's described there how Nityananda revealed to Jiva Goswami the future, that there will be this beautiful temple. This, what was it called? What's it called? Forgotten. Anyway, he gave a name to it. This beautiful temple would come up in the future in the place of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. Adbhut Mandir, the Adbhut Mandir. It's a special temple. So on that parikrama also, Jiva Goswami realized that Nityananda was none other than his worshipful Balaram. And when he was a child, Jiva Goswami was worshipping Krishna Balaram deities. Even as a very small child, he would offer everything to Krishna Balaram and distribute prasadam to all his friends. He was, from very appearance, he was a great devotee of the Lord. And when his father passed away, he was quite young when his mother passed away. He was a great scholar at school. He could, just hear one thing once and that would be it. He didn't have to, study again and again. Tradition, that's how it was. I was listening to Prabhupada this morning saying that in previous ages people didn't need books. We tend to think that because they didn't have books they were uncivilized. It's actually the opposite. Because you're not civilized, you need books. Because we're so, say our brains are so pathetic, so poor, we can't remember anything. We can't understand things by hearing, we can't analyze, we have to study. But previously, just by hearing once, people could understand and remember. They were far more civilized in previous ages, thousands and millions of years ago. In different ages, people were so much more advanced in every respect. Now we're very poor. Alpha Major, our intelligence is pathetic. Very poor. Our memory is terrible. Our brains are completely stuffed. People now, as young people, they have this, what do they call it, memory problem. They can't remember. They can't be attentive. Where's Vishvambar? What happened to him? He got lost? He fell in the loo. I knew it would happen. What to do? Terrible attentive span. People can't listen for more than a minute and they get disturbed. And they get out of here. I've got to find an excuse. I'll send myself a text message. I'll ring myself, send a call to myself, get out of here. No, previously not. So Jiva Goswami, that was a big thing really going on that Navadvip Parikrama, where Nityananda revealed all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. He saw them, literally saw all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right before his eyes. Can you imagine? Not surprising in the association of Nityananda Prabhu, the Adi Guru, who reveals everything. So we'll read on. After visiting Navadvip Dham, he went to Varanasi or Benares to study Sanskrit. It was Nityananda Prabhu who sent him to Vrindavan but suggested he go through Varanasi because they were the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Madhusudan Vachaspati, who was famous as the most elevated Sanskrit scholar. He took direction in Sanskrit and Nyaya and all other forms of knowledge, logic and so on, under the tutelage of Madhusudan Vachaspati. And now, if you do go to Varanasi, there is a very famous Sanskrit school there in the university, and it's named after Jiva Goswami, Jiva Institute, the Jiva Sanskrit Institute, something like that. because he became very famous. I remember in 1972 in London, we were, I didn't go, but there was a big exhibition in London, in the London School of Oriental and Asian Studies, of the literary works of Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami. And they had a big banner in the university, the literary works of Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis, two of the greatest philosophers the world has ever known. They had that written in the university itself. So even they could recognize the erudition, the greatness of these two personalities. And here we see, after visiting Navadvip, he went to Varanasi and he studied. After finishing his studies, he went to Vrindavan and took shelter of his uncles Sri Rupa and Sanatan. This is described in Bhakti Ratnakar. So we'll read on a little bit more and then we'll make some more comments. As far as our information goes, Sri Jiva Goswami composed and edited at least 25 books. It's said that he compiled at least 500,000 verses, Sanskrit verses. And he would compile them in his mind. And then he would write them on palm leaves, which, the old feather pen or whatever they used to use, etch them onto the leaves, etching, with some ink. They said he was using some kind of ink. And then he would take another leaf and do the next verse on another leaf. So the first one wasn't dry, so he had to wait for that to dry. And then by that time he finished the second one, which was very quick, that would dry, he'd turn it over and do the third. So he was, in his mind, compiling the next verse as he was writing the previous one. Empowered, what can you say. So they're very celebrated. We don't really have much, you could say, relationship or even connection with these literatures directly, although the essence of these literatures comes through even in Srila Prabhupada's compilations, although it may not be directly mentioned. They're listed as Hari Namamrita Vyakarana. That's quite famous. This is the literature which teaches Sanskrit simply by all the various names of Krishna. He teaches all the various names of Krishna. A technique which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself personally did when he, later years in Navadvip, his students, he was simply teaching Sanskrit through the various names of Krishna. So this was put into written form by Jiva Goswami. And I don't know most of these, what they're all about. Sutra Malika, Dhatu Sangraha, Krishnarcha Deepika, Gopal Virudavali, Rasamrita Shesh, Sri Madhava Mahotsav, Sri Sankalpa Kalpa Vriksha, Bhavarta Suchaka Champu, Gopal Tapani Tika, a commentary on the Brahma Samhita, I guess. What happened there? Oh, that's a nice picture of him writing, huh? Jiva Goswami looks anyway, it's a beautiful painting. A commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a commentary on Ujjvala Nalamani, a commentary on Yogeshvastava, a commentary on the Gayatri Mantra as described in the Agni Purana, a description of the Lord's lotus feet derived from the Padma Purana, a description of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Gopal Champu, that's a very famous book, perhaps you've read it, you may have it here. Very famous book, which is, in one sense, a corollary of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It just gives us another aspect, another angle of entry into the pastimes of Krishna. A beautiful text. And the 7 sandarbhas, usually we see Sat sandarbhas, 6 sandarbhas, but the 7th one, the Krama sandarbha, he also compiled 7 sandarbhas, or descriptions of the absolute truth, primarily describing the essential understandings behind the Srimad Bhagavatam, and establishing Srimad Bhagavatam as by far and away the cream of all the Vedic literatures, the pinnacle of Vedic truth. And that's how Tattva Sandarbha was translated into English. Several devotees have translated it, but the most BBT translation by Gopi Purana Dana Prabhu is the first volume, the Tattva Sandarbha. The Goswamis would regularly meet together in Vrindavan, especially at the Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada, when he was lecturing in 72, he said they actually met in the courtyard, where the samadhi of Rupa Goswami is. They would meet regularly, almost every day, and discuss and hear Krishna Katha. Raghunath Das Goswami would reveal all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and Raghunath Bhatta would speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. For hours and hours they would sit there relishing the topics of Krishna Katha. Of course they would sometimes be elsewhere, wandering around Vrindavan, but whenever they were in Vrindavan itself, they would meet together there. Jiva Goswami is actually his seat was that area, and as you may know, he established the Radha Damodar temple. More or less, not during his lifetime was the temple built, but he established the deity worship of Radha Damodar, and he became very famous within the area of Vrindavan, especially after Rupa Goswami's departure. Jiva became known as the head of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, basically. Whilst he was in Vrindavan, he became famous. Even the local administrator, the Mughal minister, Akbar, he was like the local king, Mughal, he was a Muslim. But he heard about the greatness of Jiva, so he wanted to find out. So of all the various Mughal leaders, Akbar was said to be the most pious. He kind of tolerated Hinduism. He wasn't Hindu, but he tolerated and let them carry on, where some of them didn't tolerate. But he did. So he came there to check it out, and he actually met with Jiva, and Jiva took him into Nindavan. If you've been to Vrindavan, Nindavan is one of the places of the Leela, Rasa Leela. We have Sevakunj, Nindavan. And he took him in there, and whilst he was there, it said that Akbar had a divine vision. He was actually completely convinced that he'd received a vision of divinity, of the Supreme Lord. And he accepted Jiva Goswami as, a God-realized person, and agreed to help. And he provided the various means to construct temples in Vrindavan, working together with one of his ministers and a rich Rajasthani businessman. They provided all the means and the wealth, everything that was needed to build temples in Vrindavan, including the Radha Damodar temple. It took a while to do. But it was there that Jiva Goswami then established the worship of Radha Damodar, his worshipable deities. After the disappearance of Rupa Goswami, that mentions here, he became the leader, Acharya of all Vaishnavas in the whole world, and it is he who used to guide them in their devotional service. In Vrindavan, we just heard that. And Prabhupada says, I retired after his Vanaprastha life, and Prabhupada took sannyas. He said, then I stayed in the Radha Damodar temple, the place where Jiva Goswami was base, his main base. Empowered by Rupa and Jiva to compile or translate and compile the Srimad Bhagavatam and other texts. Jiva Goswami also, he was the editor. When he first came to Vrindavan, Sanatan was the elder of the two brothers, so he approached Sanatan for initiation. But Sanatan said, no, you have to approach Rupa. So he went to Rupa. Rupa tested him, as usually the case. We also have a test in ISKCON for initiation. He tested him. He had menial service for about a year, helping him to edit various writings and cleaning and cooking and all sorts of things. Jiva Goswami was engaged in menial service. And after some time, Rupa Goswami then gave him official initiation. Then, let's see. When Jiva Goswami was still present, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami compiled his famous Chaitanya Charitamrita. Later, Sri Jiva Goswami inspired Srinivasacharya Narottam and Duhi Krishnadas to preach Krishna consciousness in Bengal. Now, Jiva Goswami was, he became like the Siksha Guru for all the Bengali and all the Vaishnavas at the time. They would come to take direction from him. In fact, many times, just like with Hridaya Chaitanya, not Arya Soman, but Hridaya Chaitanya, who was one of the acharyas in Bengal at the time, he sent some of his disciples there to take direction and guidance from Jiva. Sent them to Vrindavan. So he was Siksha Guru to many, many, many devotees. But the funny thing, not funny, but the reality was he never gave Diksha to anyone. No one. He only gave Siksha. Yet he's the Acharya of our line. So we can understand from this that Siksha is the real, essential feature of a relationship. It's not just the formality of Diksha. Depends how we take Diksha or initiation. It depends how much we take it seriously. But the Siksha is the life force. And Jiva Goswami, the very word Jiva means one who gives life to others. Jivaka, one who gives, of all Jivas, he's giving life to the living entities. And sometimes it's said, he's providing the food for the living entities, which the real food is our spiritual nourishment. So he's providing that. So his name Jiva is relevant there also. So three of his prominent disciples were Srinivasacharya, Narottam and Shyamananda. They were the most famous. He had others like Ramchandra and Kaviraj and others, Hemlata Thakurani. Even some ladies were also taking Siksha. But primarily speaking, they were his three main disciples, Shyamananda, Srinivasa and Narottam. And of course the famous story of their going, he sent them on their journey to take the Goswami's literatures to Bengal and Orissa for the sake of the people there, because there were no printing presses. Everything was handwritten in those days. So, of course, he was also famous. We're not going to mention it, but Shyamananda Pandit, of course, was a disciple of Sridhar Chaitanya, is known as Dukhi Krishnadas, and then he got the name Shyamananda. But when he came to Vrindavan, he got the name Krishnadas. He was Dukhi, which means he was sad. But when he came to Vrindavan, he somehow or another assumed the name of Shyamananda, and he turned different tilak, special tilak. And this was, Jiva Goswami was blamed for this, that you've re-initiated my disciple, you've given him new tilak, what is going on here? I sent him to Siksha, not for Diksha. And there was a big debate went on, and eventually it was all settled. And it was understood that it was actually Radharani herself who'd given him this name and tilak, so that was another story, very esoteric story, won't tell. But anyway, Jiva Goswami was their Siksha guru. He started the first traveling Sankirtan party with these three personalities, and they also had their setbacks. Don't think that going on Sankirtan is all roses. You may get sometimes some obstacles on the path. They also had all their books stolen. That happens quite often in Paris. We get our books stolen. Every year practically someone steals the trolleys with the books. A few years ago, Keshav Maharaj, Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj was with us before he took sannyas on the marathon, and he left his bag on the side of the street there next to the shop. The garbage men came along and threw it into the garbage truck. The whole thing threw it into the garbage truck. Some of these things may happen. So they had all their literature stolen, but they recovered them later. Anyway, Srinivas recovered them. So there they are. There's, I know who's who, which one, that would probably be Shyamananda coming. He was the last one to come. Srinivas was the leader. Narottam perhaps the most famous. And then Shyamananda came. And there is Jiva Goswami receiving him into his school, his stall, for giving him direction. Now the teachers, they give direction according to the adhikar. That means the eligibility. They wouldn't just speak the same thing to everyone. They knew where your relationship was, and they would teach you up to that point. So these three personalities, of course, they're eternal. They're at the highest level of devotional service in Madhurya Ras. So he was teaching them everything from A to Z. They are sitting together. Jiva Goswami was informed. We've just mentioned that. Jiva Goswami avoided the designation Kaviraj to Ramchandra Sen, a disciple of Srinivas, and to Ramchandra's younger brother Govinda. While Jiva Goswami was alive, Srimati Janava Devi, the pleasure potency of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, went to Vrindavan with a few devotees. Jiva Goswami was very kind to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas from Bengal. Whoever went to Vrindavan was provided with a residence and prasadam. His disciple Krishnadas Adhikari listed all the books. We've already heard about that. And yes, he was famous for that, providing all the prasadam and everything else. that anybody needed, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas from Bengal, they would always come, and one of Jiva's responsibility was to look after them when they came. Now that didn't mean they had a house in the MVT, if you know what that is. No, not the MVT. They were simple residents. But, now we look for aircon. They have no aircons, but very, love. The real accommodation is the heart. So he made them all feel super welcome. And he would cook also. He was a good cook. He'd cook for them and serve them prasad. He loved to serve prasad. He would serve. One of his main, let's say, services to devotees was serving prasadam. It's something which is not so prominent, you could say, amongst the so-called swamis or something. But he loved to serve prasadam. I can't read what it says there, but it describes something about this pastime of Jiva Goswami. There was a lot of, every time you find criticism. Well, it's not a new thing. It is fault-finding, criticizing business. It was taking place even then. That the Sahajas, those who were not in favor of the Goswamis, because the Goswamis were establishing the real principle of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the standard of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So there are certain people who don't like this. They try to water it down and think you can do anything you like and still be a pure devotee of the Lord. It's a common thing throughout the world. Sahajism is basically there everywhere. Whole religions are basically Sahaja. Basically. They can say they can do anything they like and still you can be a pure devotee. Now that wasn't established by the true devotees of the Lord, especially Jiva and Rupa. So there are accusations against them to try to defame Jiva Goswami. So three of them are mentioned here, and there's different stories related to this, not necessarily recorded in authentic scriptures, but the stories are passed on, and they're a little bit different. There's one, the most famous one is one personality, his name was Rup Narayan. He was going all over Bharat, as we now call India, and with what's called a Jayapatra, to defeat every scholar. It was a big thing. Nowadays, people don't go that far, really. They're not into that, maybe something else, boxing or some other event. They want to defeat everybody. But then it was, with knowledge, scholastic knowledge. So he was going everywhere and defeating all the scholars from north to south to east to west, and getting them to sign this Jayapatra. That means like a manuscript saying, "Victory to Rup Narayan. He defeated me." Signed herein, "I declare that I've been defeated by Rup Narayan." So he was going everywhere. And he came to Vrindavan. He heard that Rupa and Sanatan were two of the most greatest philosophers and scholars, so he went there to defeat them so that he could become world famous and the most acclaimed scholar of all. So he went there and he met Rupa and Sanatan and explained his agenda. They said, no, we can't possibly compete with you. Give us the form right away. We'll sign it immediately. So they just signed it on the spot. No debate, no nothing. He says, I see, they're scared stiff of me. They dare not challenge me. I'm obviously far superior to them. And then as he was about to leave, he heard that, their nephew, Jiva Goswami, has become just as much famous amongst the Vaishnavas as them in scholastic knowledge and so on. So he thought, okay, I'll get his signature as well. Then I'll be completely, irrefutably the greatest scholar that exists. So he went to see Jiva and showed them the Jayapatra that your uncles have signed this, now please sign as well. And he said, never. No way will I sign this form. It's nonsense. And if you want me to sign this, you have to defeat me. So then they debated for 7 days. He was scholar, he was learned. It wasn't like he was just a bluffer. He was actually learned. It took 7 days, and then Jiva finally defeated him. And took a declaration of victory to show Rupa and Sanatan. Rupa Narayan was completely humiliated, beaten by basically the student of Rupa and Sanatan. He was humiliated. So then he went to see Rupa and Sanatan, and Rupa and Sanatan were, Rupa particularly being the leader. Rupa said, what is this? What is this? You have taken the renounced order prematurely. You are not fit to stay in Vrindavan. Get out of Vrindavan right now. You've been overcome by your senses. You are supposed to be Goswami, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Kroda Vegam. You're supposed to control your senses. You couldn't control your senses and you became overwhelmed. Now you've humiliated this person. This is not the business of a sannyasi or Goswami. You have to go. He chastised him like anything for doing it. Now you could say so people criticize Jiva Goswami because it seems like he acted against Rupa's intentions, but it's not. There's another plan here, because generally people are overwhelmed by pride, generally speaking. And Jiva wasn't overwhelmed by anger or pride. Lord Chaitanya established the proper behavior. When somebody insults another, if you're insulted, you don't become angry. If you're insulted, you don't become angry, do you? You don't get upset, do you? If someone criticizes you, you're very happy, right? If someone finds a fault in you, you're feeling greatly relieved, isn't it? Isn't it? You don't get what you want, you feel great, isn't it? Hey? Yes? No? And you've got a few things to learn. But actually a Vaishnava, he sees this as really mercy of the Lord. This is just what I need. So kind, the Lord's so kind to me. He's trying to purify me, take away what I'm attached to. Show the truth. But we're attached. We don't want to let go. We don't like being criticized. We try to defend ourselves. But he wasn't doing that. He was when Lord Chaitanya taught, when another devotee is criticized, then you become like fire. You don't sit back, it wasn't me who was criticized, it was them. Actually, I'm faultless, it was them. They deserve to be criticized. No, not like that. Devotee is very angry. But his anger is not his anger, it's devotional anger. It's anger against criticism, against offense, you could say. Angry to see Krishna displeased. Something which we can't imitate, but Prabhupada was doing that too. So he was correct, Jiva Goswami was completely correct, but to teach others, we can't, imitate such behavior. We can't think that we're something great, we get proud. He had no pride at all. But Jiva humbly accepted on his head and left Vrindavan on the spot. Went to live at a distance on the river Yamuna outside of Vrindavan, lived they say in a hollow of a tree, or previously a crocodile hole, Haribol, where a crocodile had been living. And he stayed there for quite some time, a year or so, and he was just literally eating nothing. And just feeling how an offender he'd been to his spiritual master and so on. And after some time, Sanatan, approached Rupa and said, Rupa, you're not being merciful to Jiva. And he said, how is that? He said, let's read the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and you will see. So as they were reading the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu together, his cardinal teachings, they came to Lord Chaitanya's 3 cardinal subject matters. That means primary subjects. There are different ways of looking at it, but in terms of his mission, not in terms of the philosophy, mission. And one of those is Nam Seva, to spread the holy name. Another is Vaishnava Seva. And the third is Jiva Daya. Jiva Daya means mercy to Jiva. He said, you're not following this instruction. You're not being merciful to Jiva. And he laughed, and they immediately called him back to Vrindavan and carried on. Like that. So we'll move on. Another defamation fired towards him was that this is ridiculous, since Jiva Goswami sent these literatures to Bengal, but still they fired his criticism to him. They defamed him, states that when Krishnadas Kaviraj showed him the newly completed manuscript of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jiva Goswami thought it would hamper his reputation as a big scholar. And therefore he threw the manuscript into a well. Absolute nonsense. It was Jiva who sent the Chaitanya Charitamrita manuscript to Bengal. in order to have it reproduced here for the welfare of others, but they're still envious people. They just find some way of criticizing, no matter what you do. They'll find a way of criticizing. So contaminated. Krishnadas was so shocked, greatly shocked, according to this story, and he died immediately. Let's see how blasphemous. Fortunately, a copy of the manuscript had been kept by a person named Mukunda, and therefore later it was possible to publish the book. This story is another ignominious example of blasphemy against the Guru. Such a story should never be accepted. Prabhupada is bringing these things up. As this happens, it happened then, it happens now too. People criticize anybody, truly or untruly. They're criticized to bring people down, to try to make them seem like they know what they're talking about, and so on. According to another accusation, Jiva Goswami did not approve of the principles of Parakya Ras. Parakya Ras is very impossible for ordinary conditioned souls to understand. Parakya Ras is the paramour relationship with Krishna and in terms of Gokul Vrindavan at least, and the wives of others, basically speaking. And one man challenged Prabhupada one time on this point, that Krishna, he's a debaucher. I was listening this morning. Prabhupada was also funny this morning. Prabhupada was talking on the tape. He was saying how one professor of Indology and Sanskrit at University of Oxford described Krishna as simply immoral. He said they have no brains whatsoever, the so-called leaders of society today, and he was describing how the Bhagavad Gita and all these scriptures are for Kali Yuga. They didn't need scriptures before. Especially Gita, part of the Mahabharata, written for women, Shudras, Vaishyas, people who were not considered to be high intellectual. Therefore it was put into writing in a way that they could relate to. They can't understand the Vedas at all. And here we have topmost scholar, can't even understand ABC of Bhagavad Gita, not a word can he understand, and he has the audacity to declare Krishna is immoral. Animals in sophisticated animals, that's all. Fancy dress. And they're being paraded around by other similarly ignorant people as scholars and professors and learned people. Can't even understand one thing about these teachings, which they say were compiled by uncivilized people thousands of years ago. And they can't even understand one word of it. They're so stupid and so puffed up. But what to do? So the same thing was going on there. They criticized this. They think that Krishna, when Prabhupada was challenged, this man said Krishna's immoral. And Prabhupada said, who is Krishna? Krishna's supposed to be God. Well, if he's God, what does that mean? Does it mean everything belongs to him? I guess so. So it means if everything belongs to him, who does your wife belong to? Who does your wife belong to? He said to this man. He said, Krishna's not immoral. You are immoral. You think this wife is yours. She is not for your pleasure. She is for Krishna's pleasure, you nonsense. We don't realize that. Everyone is immoral because we think that something belongs to us for our enjoyment. Nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna for his enjoyment. It's an illusion to think otherwise. So the persons who are in illusion, who are immoral, so the same thing here. Now there's another side to this as well, in terms of that particular. Jiva Goswami, actually, for the spiritual benefit, did support Svakya Ras. The Svakya Ras is the duly married relationship between Krishna and the queens of Dwarka, etc. So he did support that. Why? For he could understand that Sahajas would otherwise exploit the Parakya Ras, and that's what's going on. They think they can enjoy just like Krishna, with the wives of others, with women and so on. It's common in many parts of India, as they're actually doing. Unfortunately, in Vrindavan and Navadvipa, it has become fashionable amongst the Sahajas in their debauchery to find unmarried, sometimes even married actually, unmarried sexual partner to live with to execute so-called devotional service in Parakya Ras. It's hard to imagine this is actually going on. Foreseeing this, Jiva Goswami supported Svakya Ras, and later all the Vaishnava acharyas also approved of it. Jiva Goswami was never opposed to the transcendental Parakya Ras, nor has any other Vaishnava disapproved of it. Jiva Goswami strictly followed his predecessor gurus and Vaishnavas. Rupa Goswami and Sanatan and Krishnadas Kaviraj accepted him as one of his instructor gurus. There's Jiva Goswami in the Radha Damodar temple where Prabhupada resided for many years. His deity there, you can see his samadhi is there in the Radha Damodar temple. There's his Japamala being kept by the Goswamis there in Radha Damodar temple. There's a little close up, you can see some other living entities are trying to chant japa also. Very internal form of japa, this one. They enter into the beads. They're very old and they seem to have gone a very dark colour. That's the door, the samadhi and winter dress. There's the Nam. Of course it may or may not have been a temple of Vedic, temple of Vedic planetarium as we see it. Anyway, it's nice to see it like that. We can't necessarily see what it actually is. What we see is not necessarily what it is. See? Krishna reciprocates according to our, you could say, concept. What's actually there we may not see, but it represents what's actually there. Same thing with just about everything we see. Hare Krishna. Sri Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Jagadish Pandit ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Is that okay? Done? Jai. We're done. We're over time. There's supposed to be a yajna taking place now. It's going to be a little delayed. Everything's a bit late this morning. Just put it back half an hour, don't worry. Timeless world, spiritual world. We're not in the material world here. Such a nice atmosphere you created here in Vraja. You don't realize how lucky you are. I was thinking how easy it is here compared to France. Isn't it? In many ways. You don't realize how you take it for granted. Lazy. Tendency in Philippines is to be downright lazy, isn't it? Right? A lazy streak in the Philippines. Is that right? Just don't agree. The men, they all agree. It's so tough. I mean, it's just like this energy against you in France, every step. Literally every step. I've never known it anywhere in the world like France. Toughest place I've ever known. So, many devotees say it's the toughest place for book distribution. The biggest book distributor in the world say this is the toughest place on the planet for book distribution. France. We're going to overcome it, we're going to break through to a little extent, but it is tough there. It's like this constant from top to bottom. I say, incredible opportunity to surrender, that's all I can say. But here you've got it quite comfortable. But you've made a beautiful facility here to help us to see how nice it is, how Krishna consciousness is not just a philosophy, it's a lifestyle, it's living, and to see how beautiful Krishna's temple should be. It's the most beautiful temple. Small, but one of the most beautiful temples in our movement. Very, very nice. We're going to do this in New Mayapur, okay? I had a plan. I don't expect to see it in this lifetime. Let's see. Who designed the temple? Girid Hari Maharaj? Mostly. With other devotees for consultation. Baladev is artist, isn't he? Very artistic. Very artistic. So colourful. Very colourful. Very colourful. Philippines is kind of a colourful country, I guess. In certain ways. Tondo is my favourite suburb in Canada. That's really colourful suburb, Tondo. And Pateros, isn't it? Pateros, is that called Pateros? Pateros? Another very colourful suburb. Sarvalakshmi's from there. Yeah, that's all very colourful. Nice, colourful suburb. So Tondo beats this number one. Tondo is the best. Good for food for life. Whoop! That's the food for life, Some devotees live in Tondo. Born in Tondo, live in Tondo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Gaur Premanandi